quick introduction for my first bike packing video here. It's mid-May. Decided here when the weather cleared out this weekend to head up to central PA in the Bald Eagle State Forest with my mountain bike and some new gear to do a little bike packing trip, just an overnighter. I'm trying to do 30 miles today, and then it's going to be about 20 miles back to the truck tomorrow as a loop. That shouldn't be too bad though. We're going to follow Penns Creek, kind of upgrade, but it was an old railroad bed, so it should be a little easy to get back. But we're out here. It's kind of hot today. The woods aren't as far along as I was thinking they were going to be from around home. Everything around home is pretty well like summer. It was about 85 degrees yesterday, and I come up the ridge up here and there's barely any leaves. So there's not a lot of shade, not a lot of cool spots. If anything, it still has that early spring feel where you kind of just hit brown patches and it's extra hot. So yeah, this is the introduction video for my first video for my bike packing adventures. I'll talk a little bit later on. I'll show some footage so far for today. And when I get a place to set up, maybe we'll have a little bit more of a conversation and take a look at the gear and maybe do a quick time lapse of putting everything up just to see how it goes. Hopefully it gets a little breezier by the time it's time to put my tent up. It's been, anytime you stop today, there's no breeze, and these little blood-sucking mosquitoes have just been tearing me up. Anytime I touch one, they just explode. So we're gonna keep moving. I was just kind of moving the bike up the hill here. Some of this stuff I'm not really too keen on riding when it's super hot, and with my fully loaded bike, at least going uphill, it gets a little tough. I'm trying not to bonk out too early today. As you can see behind me, coming down these long trails here that are not really maintained, which is fine. That's what I got the mountain bike for. But I want to apologize for not getting any cool downhill footage on these trails. They're just really rough. They're all washed out, and I saw a Toyota pickup truck come through up there earlier, and he was absolutely crawling because all the rocks are just sticking up, they're jagged and everything. So because I have all my gear packed on here, I'm obviously not crushing it as I normally would be with the mountain bike, coming down through there and jumping over the drain pipes that are exposed and all that kind of fun stuff. So like I said, just wanted to touch base and apologize for not getting any cool downhill stuff coming off of these trails. I haven't really been on a maintained road since the very beginning of the trip. All right, I finally found a nice cool stream to get off the trail here for a second and cool down. I'm not going to stick my feet in or anything right now. Maybe later on if I can find one near the campsite. But for right now, it's just nice to get off the tops of the hills where there's no shade or anything down here in the rhododendron. The stream's extremely nice and cold, so that's always good. But just kind of sitting down here chilling out, figuring out what to do. I got one more big climb ahead of me, and not sure how I'm feeling about it. I looked over at the mountain on the way coming down this trail here that I was just on, and it's probably one of the bigger mountains out here, and I am all the way at the bottom now. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do, because after I go over the other side, I still have probably another 7, 8, 9 miles to the picnic area that I plan to make it to, and then to turn around and start heading back to find a place to camp. So hey, I already set my tent up. Sorry I didn't film any of it. I I kind of didn't end up where I wanted to be and kept moving along, and by the time I got to here, I was way past where I wanted to be, so I'm kind of tired out, and I pretty sure I've had the same batch of mosquitoes following me the entire day every time I stop. So I kind of just rushed to get everything together. There's a stream nearby. I might go cool my feet down. I'm gonna rinse my face off and get something to eat. So I'll probably make a couple more videos here yet tonight. I'm gonna tire out pretty quick. Let's see where we were at for the day. We were 26 miles there, so a little bit further than I wanted to get to. I did change my route as well, but yeah, so here's the tent. Kind of like in a turnaround here, I guess you'd say it is. There's all my stuff there. I didn't get it in yet, but yeah, it wasn't too bad to haul around all day. Nothing fell off the bike when I was hitting all those rocks and stuff, all those roads and stuff I was on. If you take a look, it's just like this one here. They call these drivable trails, so people can drive on these. They're more like dual sport motorcycles ride on these. I saw one coming up, and I'm just kind of in a little pull off here. Maybe technically not the best way to go about it, but I'm on my bike. I don't have a fire. I don't have a truck. I don't have anything, so it's not too bad. The stream, we'll check that out in a bit, but you can hear it there. It's just through all that thick rhododendron. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to find a place to get down in there. All right, it's the morning here. I didn't film anything. I was kind of in and out of sleep here this morning once it started getting bright out, and just didn't really get to film anything. So I just broke down the tent. It was a nice night here. It's nice and cloudy today and a little bit cooler, so that's good. Not too much riding to get back, maybe about 20 miles or so, but it should be relatively easy. But yeah, we got the tent broken down. I'm just finishing up here. I'm going to change into my biking clothes and eat a little snack, and we'll move along. But it was a nice night, and the new tent and everything worked out really well. The one thing that I noticed was kind of cool was that once I was in there and I had my sleeping pad and sleeping bag and little blow-up pillow and the tent and everything, it was kind of amazing to me that all that stuff came in on my bike yesterday. So it's pretty neat. Some cool gear. So everything went well. Again, I'm going to do some stretches too to get moving today. So I figured I'd talk for a little bit. You can see behind me, it's just been a nice gradual grade following the stream here. It's pretty cool today, which is nice after yesterday. Although now I'm cold because I'm a little sunburned and it's just cold. But yeah, no, we're having fun. Just kind of cruising down through here. Just figured I'd talk for a little bit. I haven't much. I apologize again for not getting much at camp. I kind of just laid down and ate my little burritos that I had vacuum packed to take with me, and I went to sleep. So we're kind of just cruising along. But yeah, check it out. Okay, I just wanted to go over my gear here real quick. I didn't really do that. Again, this trip here, I don't know if I said it or not, but I didn't really make too big of a plan for filming anything specific. Just kind of want to play around with it, get a feel for it, how videos go, and I'll play around with an editing later to see what we've got. So I'll wait for this car here just in case you can't hear me. All right, I'm gonna try to remember this the best I can. So we've got my 2017 Giant Stance full suspension. This year I did upgrade the rear shock so that I could have a lockout. That's pretty useful, especially up here for some climbing and things like that. I have a big Agnes copper spur ultralight one-person tent. The biggest thing about that makes it useful for this is that the poles, tent poles, break down into 12-inch sections, so it's able to pack up everything extremely small. I'll just kind of show you that there real quick. That it is on the bottom there, the tent and the poles all together. I do have a Slumberjack 20-degree upwind sleeping bag for all year round, although last night, I mean, I'm not sure how cool it got. It was only supposed to be in the 50s, but I was along that stream, and with socks and light hiking pants and a t-shirt on, I was wrapped up pretty tight. So it is good for this time of year. I have a bag there that was supposed to go into the triangle there of the bike, but because the full suspension and the way that Giant makes the bikes there with that hard slant, it didn't fit in there. So it does fit down here, and what was actually kind of nice was the strap for strapping it to the bottom tube is now a tube holder, and everything I've done that didn't go anywhere. Everything in that bag is Hammer Nutrition stuff, electrolyte tabs, the Perpetuum tabs, some food. My whole food for the whole weekend was basically in that bag. The bottle holder there, as you can see, just normal. I do run a rear bag here, which is nice because it does hold a light, which on this busy road here today is coming in handy. Basically just tools in there, a couple of CO2 canisters, and I believe I stuffed some hammer gel in there for this weekend. And then just electronics bag here, which is kind of nice. It's got a little screen on top. I don't put my phone there. That is actually a battery pack for recharging the phone. My phone actually locks on here with the quad lock, as you can see. It just snaps on. I had it off of there for a little bit because it was raining, and I don't have the cover for it for the rain, so it was in my pocket. But you open this up, and basically I have my cords in there for my phone and the GoPro, and then I've just been sliding the GoPro in there as well. A couple batteries and memory card in there. And then just normal gear. I got some new gloves this year, and my helmet. And this weekend I was just riding sandals with some light socks to protect me from anything that could immediately cut me or hurt me. Kind of nice when it's hot. It cools down a lot easier than mountain biking shoes, and since I run flat pedals, I don't need to have clips currently. And that's about it for the bike and my gear. I do have my backpack here, small one. It has the rain cover on, as you can see, but in there is basically my sleeping pad and pillow, my change of clothes to get out of my riding clothes, a large bottle of water, and a couple other odds and ends, but nothing too crazy. So everything I have to camp with and to eat and to fix everything and to do some filming is either in this bag or right here on this bike. So I figured I'd take this time driving out of the park here after the trip to talk about a little bit. The first thing, I guess, is just that, again, it was really hot yesterday up here. You can see, even still, there's just no leaves on the trees, so the sun was just heating everything up. And up here too, you kind of have to watch out for snakes, specifically rattlesnakes out there, you know, on the old roads and lanes, because there's a nice open rocks, it warms up, and barely anybody's out on those roads. So just some things that were going on yesterday with weather. The roads I rode out were pretty much not used. They're open for driving, but you need a serious 4x4 and some pretty heavy tires to be able to make it through some of those areas without punctures. So I did run into about maybe 6 or so dual sport motorcycles. They were pretty cool. They weren't speeding around, they weren't digging anything up, they were just kind of out to enjoy the day. I did have one, the only thing that passed me after I set up my campsite last night there, my tent, was just one dual sport motorcycle, and that must have been within the first half hour of when I sat down. So the rest of the night nobody came past. And there was one Toyota pickup truck. He looked like he had a rooftop tent that he was going somewhere with. He was out there pretty far in the woods, so hopefully he found a good spot for last night. But I rode out, I made it to Bear Gap picnic area and started up the next mountain climb, and it just wouldn't end. And on the other side of that, there was probably about another 10 or 15 miles to go till I was going to get to where I was going to camp. Now, the reason it worked out great what I did was I came back down the mountain and I was already on the road that I wanted to camp on. Now, when I came through there, where I intended to camp was just non-existent. So I would have made that long loop, came back that way, and then would have had to backtrack again to get to where I ended up last night. So it was good that I did what I did and kept moving on. I found a nice little spot there, and it was pretty much downhill for the first 5, 6, 7 miles this morning, so that was nice from there. It was a bit cool. I followed the creeks, came over Penns Creek, and then basically followed the towns and villages all the way back up till it turned back into state forest land, where I hit that railroad grade, and then came up through the parks, and then just made a long gradual climb from Poe Patty State Park up to Poe Valley. The gear on the bike stayed put pretty well. The only issues I had was some scuffing and cutting of the paint on the bike. I'll figure out a solution for that. But with the dusty roads and the dirt up here, it's bound to happen. So I'll figure something out. The thing that happened today with the rain is that I don't have a way to keep my sleeping bag dry. So that's not an issue today because I'm not going to use it tonight. But if it would have happened yesterday, it might have been a little icky last night to try to get comfortable. So I'm going to look for something for that as well. I'm not sure if I want to get the big bag, pack, whatever you want to call it, that hangs off the back of the seat post, just because it's just going to make the bike heavier with the pack and then the ability to put more things in there. I pretty much used everything that I had. I think I might pack some of my nutritional stuff and hammer stuff into baggies just to make it a little bit tighter and smaller. I carry around a whole tube, carrying around an entire mountain bike's brace worth of tabs and everything else. So some of that stuff I need to pack a little bit lighter and smaller. As for water, I did okay. I wasn't too trusting of the water from that cabin just because I don't know when they were in there or what's set up inside. I don't know if they only use it to wash things and not drink. I don't know if they need to sanitize a tank if they're storing it inside before they use it again, and they haven't. So I use that water to cool down at their cabin, and then when I got to the campsite, I just rinsed my head off again to knock some of the sweat and salt off from the electrolyte tabs. So I did not use that. I did make it, or I planned on, you know, having enough this morning, and with it being cool, to be able to get myself out to Poe-Patty State Park to get water. So there is something I have to figure out there in that area. There was another spring again at the Bear Gap picnic area that was part of a cabin, but I'm just not always super trusting of that. But the last thing I'd want to do is get sick 30 miles away from the truck in the middle of nowhere. But the bike went well. I do have to figure out why it's shifting like an old potato. I did almost lose the chain a couple times to pop off. When I get all the way into the biggest ring on the back, it sounds like it's not super tight, so I don't know if it's going to slip off. Last thing I want to do is get it between that and the wheel. So just some maintenance I'm going to have to do to the bike here. But overall, the trip went well. I think I already said it, maybe not if I don't use that clip. But we were about 43 miles for the weekend. Most of it, well, not most of it, I guess. A good portion of it was yesterday. I believe we stopped at around 26, 27 miles. So probably about 2/3 of it yesterday, and then the last bit today, which was a lot easier. It was basically just following up along Penns Creek, and then the creek from Poe-Patty to Poe Valley. And yeah, I hit some rain showers today, but that wasn't too bad. I had covers for the packs and my raincoat. And of course, as soon as I put the raincoat on, it took a little break and then started again. It started to warm up and the rain pretty much stopped, so I had to stop and take that back off again because it was a little hot. But overall, it went well for the first time out. It was really nice to have all that gear. It's amazing once you take everything out and set up camp that all that stuff was just on the bike or in that little backpack that I had. So it was pretty nice. It was very comfortable, very quiet where I was. And we're just kind of heading out now. This is part of the ride from yesterday, actually. This was the start, the first climb on the trek. But again, overall it went well. I'll take stuff out later on at home and let everything dry out a little bit if it was damp at all. It actually wasn't super damp and wet where I camped last night, which I was expecting with the large stream across the road there that was running pretty heavily. I figured with the temperature change and the cold water from that the whole valley just would have been wet and dewy, but nothing was soaked this morning unless it happened to dry up before I got moving. But usually even by 8 o'clock in the morning up here, everything's still soaked. So that ended up being a good spot. Whether it was the best or not, I'm not really sure, but at that point I was pretty much done for the day, so that's where I was staying. And I'm just gonna kind of make the trip home now and get everything cleaned up, and I hope I can put together a nice video and some nice storyline there with it, so you can enjoy my trip as much as I did. Thank you. See you next time.